The corpse was still warm when Dr. Evelyn Carter arrived. Rain hammered against the alley walls, turning the blood into thin rivers that slithered toward the drains. The victim's eyes were wide open, frozen in pure, wordless terror. Evelyn had seen hundreds of bodies in her 10-year career as a forensic pathologist, gunshots, overdoses, burned victims, but this one felt different. The skin around the neck wasn't just cut, it was carved with surgical precision. Almost like someone wanted her to notice, lightning flashed overhead. In that blinding white flicker, Evelyn caught a reflection in the puddle beside the corpse. Someone was standing at the far end of the alley, watching her and smiling. Dr. Evelyn Carter hunched beneath her umbrella as the police tape fluttered in the icy wind. Blue and red lights pulsed against the wet pavement, painting the alleyway in an eerie strobe. Officers whispered among themselves, avoiding eye contact with the body sprawled before them. They were waiting for her, the woman who could turn horror into answers. Dr. Carter, over here, called Detective Harris, his voice trembling despite his attempt to sound professional. He was young, too young for a crime scene like this. His badge gleamed with newness, but his hands betrayed him as they fidgeted with his notebook. Evelyn crouched beside the body, her latex gloves snapping into place. Female mid-20s, no ID, severe laceration around the neck, but not random. Each incision was aligned, meticulous, almost ceremonial. She leaned closer. There, etched faintly into the victim's collarbone, nearly hidden beneath drying blood, was a symbol. A perfectly symmetrical spiral, not a tattoo, a carving. Her breath caught. She knew this mark. It had been 7 years since she'd seen it carved into another victim. That case had vanished into silence, sealed and buried by higher authorities. She was told to forget it. Her fingers trembled before she forced them still. Dr. Carter, Detective Harris asked, his voice softer now, "You recognize something?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she glanced down the alley, the same direction where she'd seen the reflection of someone watching her moments ago. Now, there was nothing but darkness, but she could feel it. Someone was still there. Someone waiting, someone who wanted her to find this body. She slowly stood up. Rain dripped from her coat and her breath fogged in the frigid air. This wasn't a random killing, she said firmly. Harris frowned. Then what was it? Evelyn looked back at the spiral carved into flesh. A message. The morgue was colder than usual. Dr. Evelyn Carter pulled her lab coat tighter as she entered Autopsy Room 3. Stainless steel gleamed under fluorescent lights. The smell of disinfectant couldn't overpower the metallic sting of dried blood that still clung to her memory from the alley. The victim's body lay silently on the steel table, covered with a white sheet. But it didn't feel silent, it felt aware, like it was waiting for her. She snapped on her gloves. The recorder clicked on. Case file 24-114. Female victim, estimated age 20 to 25, time of death between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. Cause of death appears to be exsanguination from deep incisions to the throat. Examining physician, Dr. Evelyn Carter. She pulled the sheet down. The spiral mark stared back at her, perfectly carved, too perfect. Her heartbeat quickened. Why now? She whispered, 7 years. 7 long years since she had last seen that symbol. She walked to the far cabinet, unlocked the bottom drawer, and pulled out a worn, unlabeled folder. The one she was told never to touch again. Case 17-009, confidential, sealed, forced closure by federal order. She opened it anyway. Inside, photos, another girl, same age, same pale skin, same spiral carved across her neck. Victim's name, Ava Langford. Date of death, March 18, 7 years ago. Back then, Evelyn was fresh in her career, too inexperienced, too curious. She pushed too hard for answers, and then they shut her down. Police reports vanished, autopsy notes redacted, case transferred. She was told to forget it, but now the past was back, and it had left her a corpse as a reminder. She turned toward the new victim. "You're not just a body," she murmured. "You're a message." She carefully examined the spiral. Her gloved fingers traced near it without touching. Then she froze. There was something inside the wound. Evelyn grabbed her forceps and leaned closer, gently parting the carved flesh. A small folded strip of thin material, not paper, Polaroid film. Her breath hitched. She slid it out carefully. It was covered in blood, but the image was still visible. Evelyn's own house, the front porch. Taken from the street, last night. Her hand trembled. The killer hadn't just been at the alley. He'd been outside her home. She stepped back, gripping the table to steady herself. Then the lab lights flickered. Once, twice, then went out. The room plunged into darkness. She didn't move, didn't breathe. Footsteps echoed in the hallway outside, slow, deliberate, not hurried, not panicked. Someone was walking toward the autopsy room door. No one was scheduled for entry. Her pulse thundered in her ears. She reached quietly to her left, feeling for the surgical scalpel on the tray. Her fingers closed around its cold handle. The footsteps stopped. Silence, then tap, tap, tap. 3 soft knocks on the morgue door. She didn't answer. A low voice seeped through the metal. "You shouldn't have opened that file, doctor." Her blood ran cold. She stood frozen, gripping the scalpel so tightly her hand shook. Silence again. Then the security alarm in the hallway shrieked to life. Blinding emergency lights flooded the corridor. Footsteps echoed, this time running away. Evelyn burst out into the hallway just in time to see a dark figure turn the corner and vanish through the emergency exit. She chased, but by the time she crashed through the door, rain and darkness swallowed everything. She stood there, panting, soaked in the downpour. For the first time in years, she was afraid, not of death, but of what the killer wanted, because this wasn't just another murder. It was an invitation. The house was too quiet. Evelyn locked the front door, then checked it twice. Curtains drawn, lights off. Only the hallway lamp cast a dim glow over the wooden floor. She stood in her living room holding her service pistol. Standard issue, barely used. She wasn't a cop, but tonight she was something else. A survivor. Thunder rumbled in the sky outside as rain battered the windows. She glanced once more at the Polaroid she had found inside the victim's wound. Her front porch taken from the street. He had been here. He might still be. She walked slowly, room to room. Kitchen clear, study clear, bathroom clear, then click. The sound came from upstairs, a soft metallic click, like a boot stepping on a loose floorboard. Her throat tightened. He was already inside. Moving quietly, she stepped toward the staircase. Each step creaked beneath her as she ascended. The second-floor hallway stretched into darkness. A faint sound. Breathing, not hers. She lifted her pistol, finger steady on the trigger. Her voice was calm, but edged with ice. "I know you're here." Silence, then a whisper from the shadows. "You finally remembered me, Doctor." Her pulse pounded. A figure emerged at the far end of the hallway, all coated in darkness. His voice was calm, too calm. 7 years ago, you opened me up. You wrote your little report. You called me inhuman. Her mind reeled. He wasn't talking about a victim. He was talking about himself. The killer was her former autopsy case, one she examined alive by mistake. A John Doe found unconscious years ago, blood, soaked, barely breathing. They thought he was dead. She had started cutting before he woke screaming. They covered it up, called it a mistake, but he didn't forget, and now he had returned, with the same precise cuts she once made on him. "I wanted you to feel what I felt," he whispered, stepping closer. The hallway lamp finally revealed his face, scarred across the neck, spiral-shaped scars. She steadied her aim. It wasn't intentional. She said, "I was trying to save you." He smiled slowly. "Now I'm trying to do the same." He lunged. Evelyn fired. Bang! The bullet grazed his shoulder, but he barely flinched. He rammed into her, knocking the pistol from her hand. They crashed into the hallway wall. Pictures shattered. Glass cut into her skin. He slammed her against the floor, one hand squeezing her throat. "You cut into me while I was alive. Now I return the favor." His other hand reached into his coat, pulling out a gleaming surgical scalpel. Her scalpel, her vision darkened as his grip tightened. She groped blindly beside her, searching. Her fingers closed around a broken picture frame. She smashed it against his head. He reeled back, but not enough. She rolled, gasping for breath. He slashed, blade slicing her forearm. She screamed, kicking him back. He lunged again. This time she was ready. She grabbed the loose banister rail that had broken off earlier and drove it straight through his chest. He froze, eyes wide. Blood filled his mouth as he stared at the wood jutting from his torso. He tried to speak. Only a whisper came out. "You were supposed to die." She stepped closer, trembling but unbroken. "I'm a doctor," she said coldly. "I don't die that easy." With one final push, she forced him backward, sending him crashing down the staircase. He hit every step on the way down. Silence followed. She stood at the top of the stairs, bleeding, bruised, shaking. But alive, the killer lay motionless at the bottom, eyes open but lifeless. This time, the dead stayed dead. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.